Joining me now is civil rights and wrongful death attorney Benjamin Crump. You've seen him on many of these kinds of cases, most notably the murder of George Floyd. Mr. Crump, we are so thankful for having you come on with us tonight. I want to start, counsel, with the verdict. Ahmaud Arbery was killed in February last year, but it wasn't, like I said, until May 5th, 2020, 74 days later, that the shooting video was released. Do you think the verdict would have been different had this video not come out?
Absolutely. I think the narrative that they put out initially saying that Ahmaud Arbery attacked them and that they had to defend themselves by killing him would have been the narrative, and they would have swept it under the rug. But thank God there was video. It contradicted what former District Attorney Jackie Johnson said in her report, as well as what the other prosecutors said. And so had it not been for that video, just like with George Floyd, where they said he died resisting arrest from a medical condition, without these videos, we never would have known the truth, because Black people are being killed in America and the crimes being covered up is something that is a pattern that we continue to fight every day.
Now, you had a moment during the defense's closing arguments where the attorney said that Ahmaud Arbery was there in his khaki shorts and his long, dirty toenails. After this was stated, you heard gasps in the audience there at the trial. What did you make of that? I mean, that was a big moment of this.
It was offensive on every level. But what we believe the defense attorney was trying to do was to make a dog whistle, have some racial rhetoric that she could try to convince these 11 white people who on the jury that Ahmaud Arbery was not worthy of your consideration. This whole tragedy, this whole case harkens back to a Jim Crow era. You have a Black man being hunted by a lynch mob and killed without being brought to court, without any due process of the law. And then you have one of the defense attorneys say that we don't want Black pastors coming into the church. We want to be able to tell them who we think should be able to comfort them, even though we lynched their son. And it's almost compared to what they were doing on February 23rd, 2020, when they killed Ahmaud, trying to impose their will on these African Americans. And then the linchpin was when this defense attorney, she says he had long legs and dirty toenails, almost as if Ahmaud Arbery was some runaway slave that this white lynch mob was chasing, and they had the right to capture him by any means necessary, even if that meant killing him. And the only question that had remained unanswered until this afternoon was the verdict going to be a verdict like those of the Jim Crow era, or was it going to be a verdict that said, we must be better than this, America? And we are so elated that that jury of 11 white people and one Black person sent a resounding message, not only to the Ahmaud Arbery's family, but to the world, that we won't tolerate this.
And, sticking with the racism there on the defense, you are a Black man. For those that don't know, grew up in the South. You're in Florida now. Talking about this being a modern day lynching, knowing that this area right on the Florida-Georgia line, okay, we know in the South, white people were not lynched down in the South. It was quite the opposite. It was Black people. What did you make of that statement?
Modern day lynching?
Yes. What
that
the defense
statement,
said, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't surprise me, because they have tried to interject race in a discriminatory fashion, in a very biased fashion, to make the jury not give Ahmaud Arbery the benefit of consideration, the benefit of possibility, the benefit of humanity. And so when they talk about a modern day lynching, it is very shocking when you think about literally, we had a modern day lynching. What they did to Ahmaud Arbery was the very definition of a lynching, what was resident of lynch mobs, when you literally have a group of white people decide that a black person has committed a crime, even though they have no evidence at all, and they go take the law into their own hands, and they are the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And we got to see it all with our own eyes in broad daylight on video. And what was so unsettling is the prosecutor and the police saw this on day one, but yet they accepted the asinine proclamation of self-defense and let the killers go home and sleep in their bed at night for 72 days while Ahmaud Arbery went to the morgue. And that's what we're fighting against. It should not take a video like in George Floyd, a video like with the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, for marginalized people of color to be able to have access to the courthouse, to have access to justice. And I think about how many minorities who have been killed in America, and there was no video.
And counsel,
we don't want to set
counsel, you know, the fight's not over. You know, we move now to this federal hate crime trial coming up for the McMichaels and Mr. Bryan. With these guilty verdicts coming down today, how do you foresee that trial going? What do you think your biggest hurdles are going to be that you're going to be facing coming up in this federal hate crime trial?
Well, like so many other cases, the federal bar is so high, you have to prove the mindset, what they were thinking at the time of the killing. And it's almost impossible to prove beyond a reasonable doubt what a person was thinking when they acted. However, I think in this case, we have a better chance than others because we have so many text messages, so much social media that could tell us what their mentalities was and why they engaged Ahmaud Arbery in the first place.
And
but we are very grateful today that the state did their job.
And I have one last question for you. This is a personal question, okay? You have a number of cases on the horizon, including you have Dante, right? You have that case starting next week. Then in 2020, you have, in the first 3 months alone, you have Breonna Taylor's trial, Andre Hill, and the other officers charged in the George Floyd murder. You also have a number of these in the past. Most people see you as the front man for these types of cases. What is it like to have this weight on your shoulders? Do you feel an obligation now to these cases, counsel?
Very much so. I know Reverend Al Sharpton and others have very warmly referred to me as Black America's Attorney General. And I accept that very graciously, understanding this great responsibility to try to make sure those who have been marginalized, victimized, and disenfranchised will have their voices heard, that they will have their rights to the constitutional guarantees of every American citizen. I think so often about the Pamela Turners of the world, who's was an unarmed Black woman killed on video outside of Houston, Texas, coming up in March with all those other cases that you cited. I feel that she is just as worthy and deserving of people knowing who she is and getting justice, just like Ahmaud Arbery, just like George Floyd, and others. And I pray that Breonna Taylor and her will get justice, because oftentimes Black women are forgotten about and neglected, even more so than Black men. So today we had a significant victory, but we have a long way to go to get to the notion that equality and justice for all that America is so proud of. Well, we have to get equal justice and liberty for everybody, black people, Hispanic people, Native people, members of the LGBTQ community, white people, all of us have to have that right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
Well, we will be following these cases, and we are so grateful to have you come on our show tonight, Mr. Crump. Please come back. We're going to be following these cases, and we want to have you on again to talk about those. Attorney Benjamin Crump, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sister.